Why did the Victorians legislate against male homosexuality but not against lesbian? Oh, thank you, and we can... Moving on. Oh, dear. Why didn't they legislate against lesbianism in the same thing? Yes.
Because I, Queen Victoria, simply didn't believe that women got up to such scurrilous activities.
Yes. You're really going right for them, aren't you?
Get that one. Happy Christmas to me.
You know, the fact is there's no truth in that odd rumour that Queen Victoria had them cut out any reference to lesbianism because she thought it didn't exist. Even if she'd questioned the law, she would have sparked virtually a revolution. That she had no power whatsoever to have any influence on any legislation. It would have been completely unthinkable. Do you know the name of the law? It was in 1885. It was called the Labouchere Amendment. The first famous case of anybody being sentenced under the Labouchere Amendment was Oscar Wilde, who got 2 years hard labour. And in fact, the judge said that you've been the centre of a circle of corruption of young men is impossible to doubt. This is the worst case I have ever tried. It is my duty to sentence you to 2 years at hard labour. The maximum the law allows, in my opinion, nothing like enough. And a week earlier, he said this is the worst case I'd ever tried. A week earlier, he'd tried a case of child murder. Right, that's the kind of attitude they had then.
Would you say he was a closet?
He may have been. But it was an extraordinary thing, though. Of course, the Wilde case obviously precipitated an immense change in British cultural life in many ways. Soldiers, like your good self, used to walk arm in arm in Hyde Park. They had done for 100 years. Men would walk arm in arm or arms linked, as they do in the continent still. And as soon as the Wilde case came up, everyone, just men stood exactly, never touching each other, and it was a whole different way of behaving like that.
That's because that bloke used to nick my medals. If I used to have hundreds of medals, somebody got the one.
So it was all...
Got that one?
Yeah.
And that was from Equality Street, Tin.
Legislation against lesbianism seems never to have been considered. Certainly Victoria would have had no power to block it, had it been.
Which of these punishments would you rather receive? The penalty of the sack, an Assyrian parking fine, or be forced to wear a drunkard's cloak?
Are they all worse than they sound?
Well, certainly the parking fine is hideous. So we're talking 700 BC. What do you think the parking fine might have been in 700?
I don't know, but I know after 30 days it doubles if you don't remember to pay.
What are you parking in Assyria?
Chariot or a horse or a camel or anything you like.
Where is Assyria? Is it Syria?
It's modern northern Iraq, southeastern Turkey, northwestern fringes of Iran. It's an area that's now divided up into other countries. And there was a king called Sennacherib, and he announced a parking restriction on the kingdom's royal road. So you couldn't build anything on it, you couldn't park your chariot out front, and if you did, you were impaled on a stake and planted in your own garden. That was the...
And that's for a single yellow or a double yellow?
What if your horse has just broken down?
Put his hazards on.
As long as he blinks like that, that's all right, the horse, right.
But they actually had a sign that said, Royal Road, let no man decrease it, in Arcadian cuneiform.
You're saying it like it's more of a punishment in your own garden. Why is that bit so bad?
You might have landscaped.
Yeah.
You might have got your lovely front garden sorted, and then you...
Yeah, you've just put the Lalande in, it's all looking nice.
You'd be like one of those weathercocks, wouldn't you? You'd swing around with the wind. And if you died like that, you could always point in the direction of the wind.
I just imagine if I don't know, say your husband has been impaled on a stake and planted in the garden, you spend all your time going, yeah, but where have you put the car?
Yeah, the horse is in a pound somewhere. Also impaled on a stake. I mean, they impaled the horse, not me.
Stashed all the parking tickets in its mouth. Look at them all. Look at how many you've ignored.
Right, well, other punishments, the penalty of the sack or drunkard's cloak. What do you fancy?
Penalty of the sack? It doesn't sound too bad. Maybe a waxing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not too bad.
A couple of clothes pegs.
It's called pianacule. It's an ancient Roman punishment for parricide. Anybody know what parricide is?
Parricide, killing someone in the family?
Killing your parents. It involved being whipped, stitched into a leather sack and thrown into the sea. The Emperor Hadrian adjusted the law by including animals in the sack, along with the victims. You might have a dog or a cockerel, a snake or a monkey. We're not really sure whether that was just a deterrent or they really did look for the animals, but we do know it survived into the 18th century in Germany, and monkeys and snakes really hard to source. So in 1715...
Oh, I thought you meant when you're cooking them, sorry.
Oh, I see, yeah. No, what, you'd have a Bernays meat or something, yeah. So they were very difficult to source. So in 1715, there was one man who was sacked with a dog, a cockerel, a cat, and a picture of a snake.
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah, mind
Drawn
that
by a
frame.
child.
Yeah. What about the drunkard's cloak?
Is it something metallic that is impaled upon you?
No, wooden. In the 1640s, and I think you're going to find this hard to credit, Newcastle upon Tyne had a problem with drunkenness in the streets.
Oh, shut up.
So the initial punishment was to put the offender in the stocks, but if that didn't work, they would take a barrel and they would cut the bottom off it, and they would cut holes like this, one for the head, two for the hands, and they would force the drunk to parade around town.
I think he's more of a medium. He's wearing an extra large there, and it's not hugging in the right places. That's not overly flattering.
It looks as if he's about to tell quite a fun story.
Yeah. All I did was apart the chariot.
It's a very unfortunate outfit because drunk people fall over a lot. If he falls over, he's not getting back up very easily.
He could end up miles away. Over a waterfall or something.
What sort of person would say that Alan has a very small penis? I'm sorry?
My wife.
And this is a legal question.
It is a very much a legal question, yes.
Oh, OK.
I'll tell you the world we're in. We're in the world of defamation, right? Let's say I was to write a novel about someone who presented a quiz show called K.I., who was called Simon Dry, and he had a regular sidekick with curly hair who was called Andrew Devons and had a very small penis. The idea is that he'll never sue because he'll never say, this is obviously based on me. Because no one will say, it's obviously based on me because my name's like that and I've got a small... Oh, hang on. So that's the idea, is that when you want to slander somebody, you put in certain things that they would never admit to. They'd be too embarrassed to say that it's like them. There was a writer who was snubbed by Martin Amis, the great novelist. That's Martin Amis. Peter James was snubbed by him, and he got his own back by creating a character called Amis Smallbone, whose manhood is compared to a stubby pencil. And presumably Martin Amis does not sue.
Was it Martin Amis? Who was it who wrote about Norman Mailer and put a little sort of to the appendix, you know, to the index, because they knew that Norman would always look, and
that
it
was
just said
Vidal.
Norman Mailer, and it said, yeah, hi Norm.
That's right. It's a bit like that Jewish joke, isn't it, about the will being read out, you know, and to my brother-in-law Louis, who always wanted to be mentioned in my will. Hello, Louis.
There are. So how do we get away with that as stand-up comedians when someone heckles you and you have a go back and you say something in front of a room of, you know...
Well, it's a kind of understood contract between an audience and a comedian that,
Right.
that someone heckles and you go, if I want any shit from you, I'll squeeze your head or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, some
What's that?
So,
what else would you say? What other things?
Just an example. Give away my best heckle remarks. But what I mean is, if you made a joke heckle, that's not defamatory.
Okay.
I think that's the point.
Tit for tat doesn't stand up in court, does it?
No, I don't think so, exactly.
He started it.
Yeah,
sort of
exactly. But there are various defences. And in the case, which is obviously untrue, one of Alan's small penis, for example, one defence is the truth. The person does have a small penis. The other is parliamentary privilege. So a member of Parliament can get up and say, Alan Davis, Mr. Speaker, has a small penis. So
Another member of Parliament get up and say, he's a grower, not a shower.
The point of order. The point is, you couldn't sue either of them because under parliamentary privilege, there's no action that could be taken.
There's increased privilege in peer-reviewed scientific journals as well.
Oh, that's privileged?
Yes, it is to some extent.
So that if you're quite rude about a fellow scientist...
Yeah, as long as it's in a peer-reviewed journal and it's not malicious, then you're allowed to do it, in the interests of freedom of debate. I could publish a paper reviewed by my peers about your penis, and I would be relatively immune unless I was being malicious about it.
Right. Now, that's the phrase, of course, they use in American defamatory law, is absence of malice. If you can prove absence of malice, then you can say almost anything which allows...
I like his small penis.
It's very, very tiny, but it's wonderful.
So useful were the sausages for Germany at a particular time in history that people were banned from eating them, and they were banned in Poland, in Austria, in northern France.
Were they used as part of the war effort?
Yes, World War One. The Germans had a very impressive weapon which terrorised London.
The Bratwurst lasso, which take a human head off at 100
The
paces.
Zeppelin is exactly right. The Graf Zeppelin, the Count Zeppelin invented this.
Are you saying that's one enormous sausage?
What made it lighter than air?
Helium.
Not helium, no. Hydrogen. That's why they were so dangerous and so combustible, because hydrogen is very combustible. And they would go over London, and the chappie at the bottom there in the little gondola would drop a bomb.
Lovely. The little chappie would go over London.
But the thing is, the hydrogen would easily leak from the patches, and they found that sausage skins would go over the joins, and they would latch onto each other, a bit like Velcro. They would stick to each other, and they'd seal the whole thing, so the hydrogen wouldn't leak. Well, now...
Got more bad news for pigs.
It was cattle rather than pigs. It was beef sausages.
So they would just fly like an apocalyptic cow balloon over the top of London and just drop.
Bullets would go through, and there wouldn't be enough to bring it down. And it took 2 years for the British to learn how to use incendiary bullets to cause the hydrogen to blow up.
Were they ever struck by lightning?
Yes. 3 Zeppelins were downed by lightning. Yeah, how about that?
That's brilliant. It shows that God was on our side.
250,000 cows they used per Zeppelin. That's pretty impressive.
So 250,000 cows went into the making of a Zeppelin.
Which is why they had to stop the Germans, the Austrians, the Poles and those in northern France at the time from getting their sausages.
What a shame they didn't do a big cow's face on the front of it.
No,
They just don't have those artistic flourishes, the Germans, do they? Everything very functional.
That was my problem with the Nazis.
Well, there we are. The linings in German airships caused a sausage shortage in World War I.
What is the youngest age, think carefully, what is the youngest age that a child can knock back a pint of mulled wine or a couple of double brandies in a restaurant beer garden in the UK?
18.
Oh, dear. No. No, dear. No. Yes.
12, if you met him on the internet.
You can't have double brandy in a pub unless you're 18.
The answer is 5 years old.
Yeah.
What?
What?
5 years old. Yes.
Yeah.
It's only illegal for children between 5 and 18 to consume alcoholic drinks in the bar. A place defined by the law as chiefly or exclusively for the sale and consumption of alcoholic drinks. Pub restaurants and gardens don't count, provided the child has the drink bought by an adult.
Oh, they're not allowed to the
they're
bar.
not allowed to buy
How
it.
does the child get the round in then?
No, they don't. That's the beauty of being a child.
That's why the whole practice died out, because it wouldn't get around. Drink, not you.
Say wait.
Not you either.
Why would anyone ban knitting patterns, flowers, hugs and kisses? This is a real ban, that is to say, a governmental.
It's got a wartime feeling about it.
It has got a wartime feeling about it. Code is the right
What, the
word.
knitting code?
Yes. So in World War II, you were not allowed to send abroad any knitting pattern, just in case there was code embedded in it.
So you couldn't send
knitting
socks to prisoners of war?
Well, you could send socks, but not anything with a knitting pattern in it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because they could be used as some sort of code.
Open out a blanket and it says June the 6th, 19...
Normandy. Also, postal chess was not allowed. Even kisses at the bottom of letters, in case they had some meaning.
Presumably messages saying where the troops are moving?
Yes, those are obviously pretty much banned.
Could you not have got, like, you know, you get knitting machines, could they not have made, like, an Enigma knitting machine where it makes a jumper and then scrambles it up so that they couldn't pass the message?
That would be very clever.
It's an opportunity missed.
It is an opportunity missed. We have a Karen Templer, who is a QI watcher, has knitted us.
Oh, look at that.
And this says in Morse code, I will always love you.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, thank you, Karen. Bravo.
I thought she was indulging in a bit of foreplay.
And let's hope that it is Morse code and not Braille. You'll what? Get off me.
You know the female knitters at the guillotine?
Yes.
Did they knit? Did they knit code or knit something? There was something about the knitting code.
The most famous one is Madame Defarge in The Tale of Two Cities, and they were known as tricoteuses, which is the French for knitting women. But a lot of people now believe they didn't really exist, that they were sort of made up by Carlyle, the great historian of the French Revolution, and by Dickens.
So they didn't knit necessarily, or they didn't think that they actually sat there watching heads
Well,
rolling.
in the book,
making
Madame
bobble
Defarge
hats.
knits the names of all the aristocrats who are getting their heads chopped off, which is not really a code, as a sort of gleeful, cackling joy. And the original women of the Revolution were called the mothers of the Revolution, and they were much loved. But then they became, during the Terror, they became considered a nuisance. And so they were shut up, and they were forbade to wear trousers. A law that wasn't repealed until February 2013 in France. Trouser suits have actually been illegal in France for that length, but obviously not enforced,
No.
to say the least.
Now, lastly, was it a good idea for airlines to ban smoking?
Yeah, probably was.
Why would you say that?
You know, they stunk up the place.
No, that's not true.
Although I suppose if you looked at it on paper, no, they probably would be doing better financially if they hadn't banned smoking.
No, that's not true neither.
Well, what the do I know? I don't even know who invented a plane. I don't even know why you're talking to me. I have nipples, Steve. Can you milk me? Was it a bad idea?
Well, the question is, it was almost certainly a bad idea. It was a lousy idea, in fact, because when smoking was allowed, the cabin air was completely replaced with fresh air every 3 minutes. And now the airlines save money. They save up to 6% of their fuel bills by using a mixture of fresh and recycled air.
And SARS.
Yeah, using under half the amount of fresh air needed for comfort, increasing the amount of carbon dioxide in the cabin, causing dizziness and nausea, and allowing viruses to thrive. Passengers think that because they can't smell smoke, the air is fresher. This is not so. Apart from anything else, it has dramatically increased the number of air rage incidents. One of the earliest reported incidents of air rage involved a passenger in first class, probably trying to take his mind off cigarettes by drinking too much, and he was refused another drink, and so he decided to lodge his displeasure and shat on top of the food trolley. So this is why I was a little sharp with you, Rich, because on a financial level, they've actually made money.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you might say if you're a shell, it's a reasonably good idea.
Right.
But it's a bad idea because the health of the passenger suffers enormously as a result of this. So let people smoke, the air gets scrubbed much better, people are in a better mood all round, and everything is
And then your
increased.
taste buds are shot so you can actually eat shit for food.
You can.
Well, so with all that in mind, I would urge you to follow this advice from Hermione Gingold on the subject of airline meals. Anything that's white is sweet, anything that's brown is meat, anything that's grey, don't eat.
Right. How do you hide, think carefully, 17,000 swimming pools? OK, I'm going to give you a clue.
I don't need one.
No. Oh.
I've got it.
No, everybody watch and learn.
OK. Well, what you do, Sandy? 17,000 blankets.
Well, camouflage.
Are we talking about aerial photography?
Yes, so in 2008, the Greek government, famous for being able to collect taxes, they decided to put a tax on swimming pools in Athens. 324 households checked the box on the form to say, yes, indeed, we have a pool. So they looked at some satellite images of the city and they found 16,974. Wow. And so there was a swimming pool builder in Athens, and all he did was get requests from people saying, how can I hide my pool? So, all kinds of things. Blankets that mimicked grass, frankly, floating tiles, camouflage nets, anything that they could think of.
Wow. So I was kind of...
So you were... I think I'm going to give you a point, because I do think you were sort of heading in the right direction. From France has got the highest proportion of privately owned swimming pools in Europe, and they're taxed there too.
How do you justify taxing a hole in the ground with water in it?
Yeah.
You've got a hole there with water in, so that'll cost you.
Do you think this guy looks married? I think not. I'm going to go. I'm going to go.
That's my husband you're talking about.
So the swimming pool is considered a luxury tax, and there was a time in history when being a bachelor was also considered to be a luxury, and single people should pay the government for their failure to marry. When might it have come up as a thought that maybe some of those single men...
Oh, is it just men or women as well?
So it's men. No, women
Is it to do with conscription?
It is around the war, so we are talking about the 1920.
Right.
It was seen as sinful, it was seen as not doing your duty after the First World War, that bachelors were just having a good time.
Sandy, love is a war.
That's the way you do it, Lou Sanders.
From what I've heard, it's more of a skirmish.
1920, a group of women in Périaux, France, formed the Anti-Bachelor Society.
Why don't they could just marry them? They need a society. Get out there and marry some of these poor bastards.
So the problem was there were so many casualties from World War I that there weren't enough men to go around, and what these women demanded was that the bachelors should pay extra tax, they should be banned from voting or holding public office.
I love it. I'm all for that, yeah.
I have to say, it didn't quite work out, but the government did introduce a 25% tax surcharge on unmarried men and women over the age of 30 because they wanted to boost the ageing population. The English Parliament in 1695 passed the Marriage Duty Act, which taxed bachelors over 25 in a bid to raise funds for war with France. And I have to say, we're not the only country that has had this discussion about a bachelor tax. The United States, there was a big discussion about it. It didn't actually happen, but here is a cartoon suggesting what would happen if this law came into effect. But anyway, it has been common across lots of countries, this idea that bachelors have some kind of duty to get married. Up until, from the late 19th century until World War II, Denmark had a thing that women aged between 13 and 20 could take out insurance against celibacy, and if they were still unmarried at 40, then you got a pension from your insurance policy.
Bring it back.
Something that is so rude you can't say it on a BBC comedy show.
Hell?
Yes.
Zach.
Let's try this instead. Name something that you can say on a BBC comedy show now that you couldn't say in the 1950s.
We're post-watershed. We're allowed a...
Only if it's cleared. You have to write to whatever the gods of words of television are.
You have to write and get permission.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I'll start. Yeah. On the radio, they used to say there was a list of about 8 words they'd give you at BBC. You must have had this list.
Yeah.
And I started doing the radio back in the 90s. But the only thing we got in trouble for, really, was blasphemy.
Well, in the late 1940s, they issued something called the BBC Variety Programmes Policy Guide for Writers and Producers. It became known as the Green Book, and it was what was acceptable for broadcasting. There was an absolute ban on jokes regarding, and I'm quoting here, lavatories, effeminacy in men, immorality of any kind, and any suggestive references to honeymoon couples, chambermaids and fig leaves.
That should cover it.
No. The vulgar use of the word basket must be avoided.
Oh, hello, missus. Can I see your basket, please? What, you got some melons in your basket?
Now you do it like that. Suggestive references to ladies' underwear, so things like winter drawers on, you couldn't say that. And it conceded that references to Noah was sometimes permissible, but it added, since there is seldom anything to be gained by them, and since they can engender much resentment, they are best avoided altogether. You couldn't make jokes about solicitors, miners, or the working class. And in particular, you could not make any joke about a specific Irish family called the McGillicuddies of the Reeks.
I wonder who they are.
They're an ancient family, but apparently several jokes have been made about them, and they took offence. And even now, we should not be amused by the McGillicuddies of the Reeks. Max Miller in 1944. He tells a story about meeting a rather attractive woman on a mountain pass. And it included the line, he didn't know whether to block her passage or toss himself off. And... But he got banned for 5 years. 5 years.
Wow.
From the BBC for that particular...
Oh, it was worth it, though.
I know. Thank you for which horny member of royalty is immune from any form of legal prosecution? Yes.
Prince Andrew.
It's going to be something with horns?
Yes.
Is it like a royal cow or something?
No, there should be.
The
I think.
royal cow.
That's a snail, what you're
Brian from Magic Roundabout.
Roundabout.
Who was it? Florence and Dougal.
And there was the one who's based on Bob Dylan, the rabbit.
And he was stoned all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It was the 70s. You were allowed to be stoned in a children's cartoon.
Helen, did you say?
Dylan,
Yeah, Dylan, yeah.
Dylan.
Yes, we just said that.
We said that.
That person
just woke up.
was absorbed.
Dylan, I'm talking about Magic Roundabout! Dylan!
The guy's just beginning to get the hang of mind reading. Come on out, horny member of royalty.
In the context of the occult,
Yes.
who is a horny royal?
The devil.
The devil is exactly right.
You can't prosecute the devil?
No, so, 1971, there was an American called Gerald Mayo attempted to sue the devil, and there is the case. The United States, ex-royal Gerald Mayo versus Satan and his staff. And it was heard by the US District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania. Mr. Mayo alleged Satan has, on numerous occasions, caused plaintiff misery and unwarranted threats. Against the will of the plaintiff, Satan has placed deliberate obstacles in his path and has caused the plaintiff's downfall. The first point that was raised by the judge, a man called Gerald J. Weber, was that he wasn't sure that they could prosecute Satan, as Satan was technically a foreign prince, and if sued, he might be able to claim immunity.
Surely it's a typo. He meant Stan.
And in the end, they refused his request because nobody could find an address to serve the Satan the papers.
Yes, you have to put it in their hand, don't you?
Yeah.
Otherwise it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Wow.
But do you know about the devil's advocate? Do you know about that?
Avocado.
As in being one.
Well, it's a Roman Catholic thing. the
Yeah,
devil's
as in to
advocate.
play devil's advocate.
Well, that's where the phrase comes from, but it used to be a proper job, and it was the job of the devil's advocate to argue the case against proposed sainthood. So his job was to say, this person's going to come up to be a saint, I don't think it's a good idea. It was got rid of by Pope John Paul II in 1983, and the number of saints just shot through the roof.
Describe the rules on a pirate ship.
Rules? Yeah. What sort of rules would they have?
Obviously, they've got a captain.
Yes.
So he's in charge. So I imagine he gets most of the gold and whatever they find.
Well, oddly enough, now, they had two senior officers, the captain and the quartermaster. And the captain could be vetoed by the quartermaster on all matters except battle, except rules of engagement when fighting. And they had strong laws. And the quartermaster was, he was about how much they divvied out, including he decided how much the captain got. The captain had no special quarters. He didn't have a, wonderful room such as you imagine in movies. So it's not exactly hierarchical. It's kind of a rule of two, the quartermaster and the captain. Otherwise, it was more or less a democracy in a strange sort of way, but with strict rules. For example, in Captain Bartholomew Roberts' ship, the Fortune, there was no gambling. It was like a boarding school. No smuggling girls into the dorm. No playing music on a Sunday. And lights out at 8 o'clock sharp in the evening.
Rubbish being a pirate.
I know. It's not quite what you imagine.
My
is it?
dad, the captain. That's rubbish.
But Where are you going to smuggle these girls from, anyway?
That's true.
Do you rescue one from the sea? No.
When it came to women aboard, the articles of Captain George Lowther, who was a famous pirate of his day, said, if at any time you meet with a prudent woman, that man that offers to meddle with her, without her consent, shall suffer present death. So meddling with a prudent woman without her consent got you death. So they really were very strict with each other.
So meddling was rape, really?
Well, I think essentially we're talking
that
about rape.
lost its meaning by the time Scooby-Doo came
Exactly. Why, you pesky kids haven't meddled?
Notorious gang rapists.
That's just terrible. I'm ashamed of you.
Why is the pirate voice similar to the farmer's voice? Why? Is there something...
Arr!
Get off my land! There's
one man responsible.
Right.
Do you know who it is?
It'll be a film actor.
Yes.
Oh, OK.
Treasure Island.
He played in a great performance of Treasure Island. And in fact, Tony Hancock, the great comedian, he first started out as an impersonator of this actor.
Lawton?
No, not quite as well known as Lawton. In his own day, he was very, very well known, but now less well known.
Anybody?
Someone we've mentioned on QI before.
Hang on a minute.
The chances of Alan remembering it are...
Someone in the front row saying, you've done this!
Heard this fact!
This was on Dave on Tuesday! New facts! New facts!
Yeah, well, it was Robert Newton, anyway.
Robert Newton.
Thank you, yes.
Robert Newton.
Robert Newton is the right answer, but it doesn't count because we've had it before. There we are.
Prowse almost did that, didn't he, to Darth Vader? He has a West Country accent, didn't he?
Yes,
and
he
he
did.
famously thought that he was going to be used, didn't he?
Yes.
With his West Country accent, he got redone.
I am
by
your
James Earl
father.
Jones. Very upset.
I'm your father, and I'm your brother as well.
Darth Vader on a big tractor. Yeah. Trundling down the corridors of the Death Star, chewing a bit of straw. Darth.
Darth.
Mr. Darth to you.
Mr. Darth. Mr. Darth. It's... yeah, anyway.
You know the skull and crossbone flag?
Yes.
Did they really have that? Because, I mean, that's really giving it
we
away,
definitely
isn't it?
covered that in the last
Oh,
series.
really? I must
yeah,
have missed that.
Alan will tell you all about it.
Go on.
Jolly Roger.
Well, yeah, everyone knows it's called. Why is that a proposition? Maybe later, Alan.
It's been 10 years, Stephen, and I've finally come round to it. It's time for a Jolly Roger.